All right, welcome to our deals of the week. I'll be honest with you, I'm having a little more trouble finding really good deals in the last couple of weeks than I was at the beginning of the year and then going into the end of last year. And that I don't know if we're starting to bottom out price wise or if sellers are just starting to get a little bit more stubborn. I don't know what the psychology is there. I think part of it has to do with we're dipping on interest rates a little bit. We went under the 6 mark, and I think sellers are anticipating potentially that this is going to bring buyers out, so they're less likely to drop prices. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. There still are some good deals out there. And remember, as always, if you're out there shopping for houses, obviously you're going to look at what attracts your eye, but look at the details. Go to the number of price drops. This is a critical situation. It allows you to peer into the psychology of a seller when you see that they've methodically lowered prices over the course of a few months versus somebody that listed their house 6 months ago and they haven't dropped the price at all. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go look at a house if you want just because the price hasn't dropped, but it is going to give you a little insight as to how that seller is thinking. If they've been on the market months, even 45 days, and they've had no price drops, you have to wonder what they're thinking. They most likely overpriced that house and they're not reacting. Are they going to be difficult to deal with? Are you going to tie up a lot of time dealing with that seller when they're not really negotiating and miss out on the house that you could have gotten? I know it's a lot to kind of take in, and you don't want to base your home buying decisions on what the seller is thinking, but the whole goal of what I'm trying to do here is to help you kind of think about how to buy a house. Think about the best way to get the best house that you can, and by looking at by looking at clues that the seller is leaving, sometimes that can help. Oftentimes that can help. I love looking at houses with, as you know, with terrible pictures because other people are passing those by. I love looking at houses that have had 6 or 7 or 8 small price drops because that tells me that the seller is methodically trying to find the market for that house. It's a willing seller. So let's just jump in. The first house that I'm looking at today, Distant Heights, is one of my favorite neighborhoods in town. You know this. It is firmly within the no flood box. This is just a general outline of the no flood. There's plenty of no flood around the Jungle Terrace area as well, but this is like the highest point in St. Pete. There's a lot of activity as far as renovations. I feel like it's a very stable neighborhood. So if you're looking for sort of a regular family home, a lot of these were built in the 50s, don't pass up Distant Heights. It's a great location. So let's take a look at before we even get to the pictures, because I want to show you the price action on this one. And we're seeing a little bit more of this recently. This house went on the market just, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks today as I'm filming this video. And they went on the market at $465, and less than 2 weeks later, they dropped it by $15,000. A quick price drop. That tells me we've got a very smart listing agent right here. She knows what she's doing. She's talking to her client, letting them know, we came out of the gate, we didn't get enough activity. We've got to reassess this. And that's exactly what they've done. They went from $324 down to $314 a square foot. So the house is, pretty standard. It looks like it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. They now have it as a 3-2 with 1,400 square feet. My guess is that this was about 1,100 square foot house in Distant Heights, and they did what a lot of homeowners did of it. Even though, as you know, it's not my favorite thing in the world to renovate garages. This looks nice. They put a nice planter up here. It looks like they did a nice job on the stucco, so it all feels pretty good. They got this beautiful curb appeal. They've got some nice landscaping up front. It's got a very Florida vibe. There's a nice dusk shot. A little modern for my taste, I'm not going to lie, but the furniture doesn't come with the house, so I wouldn't worry about that. I'm not 100% crazy about the shiny white floors, but again, that's, sort of a personal taste thing. They definitely have a modern style, but the house looks like neat as a pin, and looks like at some point. They replaced this front door with a kind of a mid-century front door, which is really nice. And nice kitchen, not a big open kitchen, but you get two bar stools there. And decent sized bedrooms with the carpet in them. So the house was renovated at some point. I'm not saying it's a brand new renovation, but it looks neat as a pin. Beautiful porch in the back. I think these look like, it's hard to tell, these look like kind of vinyl windows, so I don't see any vents up here. Not that they could get an AC vent. It's hard to tell, but they have it furnished as if it's air conditioned back here. There might be a split unit or something. A little above ground pool. And just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with the neighborhood, the street view, most of the houses are just like this. They were built as 2-1s. A lot of them have been added onto. So now a lot of them are 1,600 square feet. You know, it's a nice, quiet neighborhood. It's a non-flood zone. This house has had some new stuff in it too. New roof 2022. It was painted 2025. Gutters also. Carpets cleaned this year. No flood zone. And, oh, that bonus room in the back does have a mini split to it. So it does have AC. So it looks like it's in pretty good shape. So let me drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Normally, I wouldn't, as a deal of the week, pick a house that's only been on the market 12 days. But in this particular case, because the listing agent and the seller reacted so quickly to the market by dropping the price a not an insignificant amount of $15,000, that they're now at $450. Now, I will say that this price of $314 a square foot is not going to do it for me, to be honest with you. My target is $300 a square foot. I think this house might be a little too nice to get to that level, but at $300 a square foot, we'd be at around $429-ish, which for a 3.2, 1,400 square feet, non-flood zone, bunch of new stuff, solid neighborhood, is pretty good. So if you're interested in this house, reach out, let me know, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email if you want to see it. I think this is a winner at the 425, 429 range, right at that $300 a square foot. Even though it still seems a little high, I'd like to be a little bit lower than that. But drop a comment, let me know what you think. That's house number 1 in Distant Heights, 5718 18th Avenue North. And let's take a look at house number 2. All right, let's take a look at house number 2. Now, this is in the Jungle Terrace neighborhood, which, again, is one of my favorite neighborhoods. Primarily, I mean, there's a lot of $1 million houses out there, so it's a great neighborhood. The Jungle Country Club part, Jungle Terrace, is a little bit more modest houses. But one of the reasons that I really like it, and let's see if we can zoom out here a little bit, is that it is really close to the water. You have good access to get over to Madeira Beach in no time at all, but it is not in a flood zone over here. And it's about as close as you're going to get anywhere in St. Pete to the water and not be in a flood zone, which is really nice. And we'll zoom out a little bit more so you can see where we are with respect to downtown St. Pete. You know, it's probably a 25 to 30 minute ride downtown, not terrible. And then jump on the interstate, you're over to Tampa in no time at all. So the location is great. This house is priced at $499 for 1,500 square feet, and it's at $317 a square foot. You know, the first house we did was $314 a square foot. So you can kind of see what your, you know, sort of regular but good condition ranch style houses are going for. You should be really in that, you know, depending on the condition, 280 to 320 range. 320 meaning like a really recent addition. So let me just bounce down and let's look at the price action real quick before we go too much further. And they put this one again. Normally with my deals of the week, I like to see stuff that's been on the market 90 days or more with a bunch of price drops. But I felt like these two houses, this one is just went on the market 2 days before the first house. On the 18th of February, they started at $520 and they dropped it $21,000. And they did that after 2 weeks. So that's a good, what, 5%, 4 or 5% price drop there. I mean, they're not messing around here. Again, you know, listing agents, when they see that first, 7 to 10 days, they're not getting the showing action they want. They're not even getting any hints of offers at that point. You've got to look at the price, assuming the marketing has been doing, they're doing their marketing stuff correctly. So let's just bounce through the pictures here, and we can see really from the front, or from the kind of aerial view here, and a lot of houses were this way. You can even see this one here, back here. That was probably the house, and then boom, this might have been a Florida room that they added onto. Now this one has got the same sort of roof line. That was probably the house to begin with. Then they added this part on, and then there's a sort of a Florida room or porch back here. Not unusual for this part of town. A lot of these were winter homes, 700 or 800 square feet, that got added onto. So nice renovation here. Not a real eat-in kitchen, but still very nice and clean. It looks like, I guess this is a brand new renovation. This was probably the garage at some point, I would guess. Let me just go back real quick. I just pulled this one up a short time ago. So yeah, that step down, that would have been either a garage or a carport when this house first came into being. Looks like they replaced the windows as well. Everything's nice and neutral on the inside. New appliances, countertops, cabinets. So, the rooms are decent size for a 3-2. They cut a corner here. This is one of those one-piece sort of showers. It might be a separate tub, but then this is just one panel, this whole thing, which, is okay. I would rather see that tiled. If I bought this house, that'd be the first thing I'd do, would tear that out and tile that, but very neutral and nice. So this probably was the back of the garage. And then a nice screen porch here. Again, we'll look at the description to see if they tell us, but that looks like impact sliders to me, which would be very, very nice. In a decent sized backyard, a nice shed with some, if you ever see these in a shed, these are hurricane panels for your windows. And a quick street view, you can see, Jungle Terrace is typically very nice and neat. And pretty quiet back there. All right, so drop a comment, let me know what you think. This house, it looks like a new renovation. We don't have any indication on whether the roof is new or not. And there's no stains from the pictures there, but it's difficult to tell. So let me know what you think. We're at $317 a square foot. The first house was $314 a square foot. So they're right around the same price. This one's a little bit bigger at 1,575 square feet. No garage, a converted garage again, which is okay. But it's a great neighborhood out there in Jungle Terrace. I think we might be still a skosh high. I'm not going to lie to you. I think we should be around the, I hate to say it, a 449. This is a great house. Somebody put some money into it, but I think it doesn't quite have the curb appeal that you would need for a $500,000 price point. If I was going to flip this house and got it in bad condition, one of the first things I would do would be to put some sort of overhang porch here. Because the layout of the rest of the house is pretty nice. So I don't know. I think we're still a little high. I think that if you're out there, you can still be a little bit patient, but if you're thinking about buying this year, you probably should start getting out there and getting familiar with the prices. You should also be aware that there's a seesaw effect when it comes to mortgages as they start to dip. And I don't know if it's just going to be at 6, but if they go much lower than that and we get a rush of buyers into the market, they're going to be looking at houses like this, recent renovations that are in that, $350 to $500 price range. You're going to get a less good deal. Your timing is your own timing. Just consider all of the factors if you're still thinking about waiting another 3 months or 6 months. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think. My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm a realtor here in St. Petersburg, Florida. If you're thinking about buying or selling, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. I would love to help you out. That's been our deal of the week, and I'll see you next time.